Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this hearing to order and acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory in the home and the traditional lands of the Ojibwe, the Cree, the Dakota people, and in the national homeland of the River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Ron Merritt. I'll be your chairperson this afternoon. Introducing the panel members, we have Diane Knight via Zoom, and we have Mr. Doug Marks that is present. Our recording secretary is Stephen Lunn, and representing the city from the assessment department is Mr. Singh. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note that we'll be placed in the waiting room until the property is called upon. It'll be then your turn, and you will be admitted to the meeting. Kindly follow along the City of Winnipeg Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please note that please close or mute your YouTube player. Then you'll be admitted to speak in respect to your property. Once the hearing has been concluded, you may leave. This afternoon, we'll be hearing application for revision of the assessment roll according to the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we'll limit discussions to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are swearing testimony, and anybody speaking in these matters must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of it, along with the city administration. We make our decisions based on the evidence provided at this hearing and issue a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decision in respect to application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification or to Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the board's order. In respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We'll then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have. Then it'll be the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each party will have the opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all evidence about the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. This process will repeat for each item on the docket. This afternoon, this session will close after the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all hearings are live stream recorded and will be part of the public record. This afternoon, we'll be hearing items 1 and 2. So I asked Mr. Lunn to affirm the assessor and the swear in the testimony of the applicant. Mr. Lunn, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Ramon Singh.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Sid Story.
You affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I thank you. The first item on the docket this afternoon is 2536 McPhillips Street. Mr. Singh, whenever you're ready, you can take us through that property, please.
So this is file number 22-4414. Address, our roll number is 050057900000. Address is 2536 McPhillips Street. Roll year is 2023. Reference date is April 1st, 2021, with an assessed value of $5,231,000. This is a complete auto dealership. The zoning is M2 manufacturing. The land area is 209 28,339 square feet. And the leasable area is 22,141 square feet. Recommendation is to maintain the 2023 assessed value of $5,231,000. Page 2 and page 3, you can see aerial photos and street level photos of the subject property. It's located at the corner of Templeton Avenue and McPhillips Streets. There's lots of heavy traffic. It has 2 detached structures, an antenna, and an underground tank. The west major body is the Pipeline Road, and the east major body is McPhillips Street. And it's located near the Seven Oaks Hospital. Page 4, you can see the subject's sale history. March 2020, there was a sale for $4,200,000. It's an arm's length sale and verified. Page 5 is rent comparables. What we've done is, since auto dealerships are the market rents are very hard to attain because they're mostly owner operated. So we've used big box retail stores as comparisons, just like Best Buy or The Brick or Future Shop, etc., as they best represent dealerships. For example, they have huge parking lots, big showroom areas, some office space for managers, sales employees, and usually a big warehouse shop area as well. And these are all the rent comparables throughout the city and the average is $18.83, and the median is $18.27. We've also assigned approximately 43% of the land as excess land. So on page 6, you can see some land comparables, sales for excess land. We tried to keep it in the area, and the average is $8.04. The median is $9.07. Minimum is $5.29, and maximum is $9.76. And the subject property excess land is 90,016 square feet at $7.52 per square foot. Page 7 is the subject property market income. It's a vehicle dealership, Kia dealership, owner operated, premise. It's a C2 standard finish. Leasable area is 22,141 square feet.
Mr. Singh, it appears you are breaking up. Could you repeat?
For a potential rent of 316,616 square feet. We have a vacancy loss of 2% and expenses of 3%, and we have a shortfall of $6 per square foot, which makes the net operating income $298,300.
Sorry, Mr. Singh, which page are you on now?
With an overall cap rate of 6.5%. We have realized value of $4,554,473, with the additional land value of $677,000 for estimated market value of $5,231,000. Page 8 is the income value summary. Page 9 is the capitalization rates throughout the city by various companies. We concentrate on the city of Winnipeg. We have 6.55% cap rate, And since our comparables are retail, it fits in within our parameters. If you look at Colliers, it fits in their parameters. CBRE, it also fits in their parameters, and Cushman and Wakefield, it also fits in their parameters as well. And page 10, we have the Municipal Assessment Act excerpts, and that's the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Mr. Story, questions of Mr. Singh?
Yes, I will, please. Excuse me. Mr. Singh, on page 1 of the brief, of your brief, under the property description, you indicate actual year built 1980 and the effective year built 2000. What can you tell us about that? Either of both those numbers. Where did they come from?
Yeah, I should have explained that earlier. I forgot in my presentation. I apologize.
Go ahead.
For that, we have an effective age of 2000. I believe there was, when it was sold in 2020, there's renovation from maintenance garage to a Kia dealership. There were extensive interior and exterior renovations. There was a new service garage constructed, and the leasable area was adjusted to 22,141 square feet. And of course, the liability was changed from exempt to taxable. And that's why.
So did that building exist in 2001? Did the property exist, the building?
So this is just the effective year built. So because so this building was not, the Keeler dealership did not exist in 2001.
It existed in 2021, correct?
Correct.
That's when it was built?
I believe so, yes.
And in some portions of our presentation today, you're relying on modeling, are you not? The model?
So the modeling aspect, so the 2000 are, yes, some aspects are derived from the model, but they have been confirmed as reasonable through review of comparable market data.
Okay, so and they've accounted for the difference in effective age and year of construction?
Yes.
Model's been adjusted. You're not taking the error and exasperating it by repeating it in the model.
Pardon? Well, I didn't hear you.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll get to that question on modeling when we get to it. And the ceiling height's 18 feet?
Yes, the wall height is 18 feet, yes.
There's no mezzanine to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, there's no, mezzanine.
Okay. Did you get an opportunity to inspect the site?
I did not inspect the site, but other field officers have.
Okay, and their conclusion was that it's an 18-foot ceiling height, and it's a standard type of, not an elaborate Lawson Crescent, Keniston type of car dealership, but a more practical car dealership on big.
So we have it classified as a C2 standard finish.
C2?
Yes, that's a standard finish.
Okay. So it's somewhat different than, for example, than the Mercedes dealership on Keniston, or the Lexus, or even the Audi.
So I can't comment on that. I don't have that information with me.
And you're aware, I presume, that the city of Winnipeg, and you confirmed it, had trouble finding market rents for dealerships. The reason being that developers don't want to bear the risk. So they're mostly or all owner operated. And the challenge that the city has had and the taxpayers had is that the city has to come up with some kind of market rents in when there are no leases. And if we go to page 5 of your brief, you will see 28 comparables. And these are primarily, these are all retail, actually, all retail. Some big box and some just retail. And you understand that these are the properties that are being presented to this board to be considered as comparables with the subject. You aware of that?
Yes, so as I explained before, we can't come up with proper market rents because they are owner operated.
Mhm.
So we have come up with retail big box outlets because they best represent car dealerships with the
They
big
represent
parking lots,
car
big
dealerships,
showrooms,
the big
etc.
box?
Pardon?
Did you say the big box represent car dealerships?
They best represent car dealerships.
You know, there's another category called vehicle related.
Pardon?
There's another category called vehicle related. Was that not considered for the comparables?
So we use comparables that are very similar to car dealerships. So as
Okay,
I
well,
explained,
let's pick one right off the top. 1, 2,
So-
3, 4. Third one down, 1250 St. James Street. Do you know what type of business that is?
all the information I have is that it's a retail big box outlet.
It's called the Flying Squirrel. And we brag about something in Winnipeg. It is purportedly the largest trampoline park in the world. Not in Winnipeg, but the world. It's called the Flying Squirrel. It's located at 1250 St. James Street. Does that seem to you like it should be a comparable to a complete auto dealership?
So when I say comparable to complete auto dealerships, like I explained before, they have huge parking lots, big showroom areas, some office space for managers, sales employees, and usually a warehouse or shop area as well.
Okay, but you're not suggesting that in your opinion that Flying Squirrel is comparable to a car dealership?
Like all I can say is that we came up with big box retail stores such as.
But interestingly enough, they're not even big box necessarily, because of the 28, 10 of them are under 15,000 square feet, and 13 of them are all clustered around Polo Park Shopping Center. So that's just, I don't want to go through all of these because the board has heard them all many times, I'm sure, because I have. Let me just go on and maybe yell out if something jumps out. Terracon Business Park, the very first one on there, has nothing to do with retail. It's Good Life Fitness. It's a freestanding fitness facility. Are you aware of that at 1301 Kenniston?
So we have it as retail and fitness.
You have it as what?
We have it as retail and fitness.
Yeah, but you don't have it as complete automobile dealership.
No, as
Not
I explained
intended.
before.
It's not intended to be, and its rate is 1650 a square foot. Is that correct? Based on your evidence?
Yes, that's what it says, $16.
And then let me just ask you an aside. Did you have anything to do with putting together this evidence for the comparables?
As collectively as assessors, we came up with these comparables that best represent car dealerships. And as you notice that our rent is $14.30, which is way below the,
Well, that's the next question. You're ahead of me because that's my next question. If you go to all this trouble and come up with a median of 1827, why did you use 1430 in the income approach?
because we want to be fair with everybody, and we didn't see that $18 would be a fair representation of the market value.
You didn't think it would be.
Pardon?
You didn't use 18, you used 1430.
Right, so you're asking why we didn't use
No,
it.
I'm asking you, are you suggesting that you use 1430 because you want to be fair to the taxpayer?
Yes.
That's your prime motivation, to be fair to the taxpayer? Okay,
Pardon?
it's okay. So we talked briefly, we touched on our squirrel, flying squirrel. Let's think of a couple more. Your comp number 4 is the Sally Ann thrift shop on Nairn. And then you've got a big, impressive building on the corner of St. James and Ellis called Ashley Furnishings. It's your comparable number 5. Do you believe that Ashley Furniture's big box retail would be comparable to a car dealership?
So they best represent the dealerships as we presented, yes.
I didn't hear what you said, but number 6 is Michael's Craft Store, correct? Right across from Polo Park. Do you think that one should be included in comparables with car dealerships?
So again, they have a big parking lots, big showroom areas, some office space for managers, sales employees, and usually warehouse and shop area as well. So
You got Lazy Boy at 1425 Alice, also clustered around Polo Park Shopping Center. You've got Giant Tiger on 2195 Pembina Highway. Does Giant Tiger seem that it should be a comparable to a car dealership?
so
I guess I'm being redundant. No, I'm not picking on you. I don't think
it's just that we're going in circles. I'm saying the same answers, you're asking the same questions.
yes.
I'm not too sure.
Well, we can end it quickly if you just admit that they're not comparable. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit faster. And Mr. Mayor, yell at me when I go too fast.
I think, Mr. Story, your point is probably well taken.
Yeah, we've all heard it, I think.
And so if you'd like to move on, that would be fine.
Okay, thank you. I will, if I can, just with a final comment. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, just in analyzing the comparables, the other thing that jumps out is 13 of the 28 comparables are in the Polar Park area, which is our highest retail in the city of Winnipeg. And to show the confusion that the board, the assessor had, 10 of the 28 are under 15,000 square feet. You wouldn't even qualify by definition of a big box retail at under 15,000 square feet. But that is the case. So I'm questioning the validity of these comparables. Okay. And then the other thing you mentioned twice in your introduction is complete car dealerships. Are the dealerships that you're suggesting are car dealerships are complete insofar as do they all have body shops, for example? Or do they all have detail? So do you look at the car dealerships and determine what they have and don't have? Or just accept the fact that the detail called them complete car dealerships? For example, the subject doesn't have, or I'll ask it as a question, does the subject have a collision center or auto body? Does the subject have a collision center or an auto body on site?
So the subject does not, I don't believe it does. We have that it has a new service garage constructed and a complete car dealership. What we have is usually a dealership that sells cars and can maintain cars as well.
Yeah.
So I don't believe it has a auto body or.
No, it doesn't have a auto body. And in the photograph on the front of the briefs, and in your brief, that kick out on the south side of the building, that's the reception area where you go to get your service done. But again, that's not auto body. There's no auto body. And then I wasn't sure if you answered it, but other than you indicated because you want to be fair, but on your page 7, again, you've calculated 1827 as a median that I may or may not agree with. I actually don't agree with it at all. And then, however, you chose to use 1430, and that's quite a significant difference. And you're suggesting that the reason for that is to be fair, correct?
Yes, because like you mentioned before, we're using comparables because we don't have the market rent of car dealerships because they are owner operated.
Yes.
We have to use comparables that are very similar to car dealerships, but those rents are very high, and we wanted to be reasonably fair by using $14.30.
And the cap rate is $650 from the model, and then it would appear a bit of a bump because you said the owner is looking for 7.5% because it's auto dealership and they're custom built to suit, so they're somewhat unique. Mr. Singh, I think those are all the questions I have.
I thank you, Mr. Story. Ms. Knight, questions of the assessor?
I do. So when you were talking about the building sold in 2020 and it was renovated, so was that maintenance garage dropped and then it was totally rebuilt to a Kia?
Just check my notes. So the service garage was totally brand new. It was new service garage since constructed.
So they dropped the old building and rebuilt altogether?
I believe so.
Okay. And which of your 20 some odd comparables, which two are your best comparables?
Those ones,
It's got to be the flying squirrel.
so I would have to say I haven't really looked into that because these are basically rent comparables throughout the city.
Okay, that's fine. And I have one more question. Do you have any interior, or actually two questions. Do you have any interior pictures?
I do not, but I believe the applicant has interior pictures from his brief.
And what about the permits? Do you have any of those?
I did not include them in the brief.
All right, thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Marks, questions?
Yes, regarding the rebuild, what was the value on the building permit? Rebuild.
I don't have the permit with me. If you can just bear with me, I can check it for you.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
So we have so for the building, it was about 26,000 for the permit value.
That's it.
That's the sign for Kia Motors. Just one second. We have a construction addition.
Sign permit?
Yeah, that was the sign permit. So we have 2020 interior and exterior alterations for 400,000.
So that's the total for the complete
What
rebuild?
what about to build the place?
We have partial permit foundation, no price. We have the building, but there's $0 for that. So they didn't declare a value on it, on the permit.
So what was the total value then, sorry?
On the permit?
Yes.
So one of the permits is construct a new addition to an existing one-story commercial building to create an auto dealership. Interior exterior alterations. There's no value associated to that.
Okay. Has there been a final inspection done on this property?
I believe there has been an assessor who's looked at the permit. And I can't really tell you if he went to the place and inspected it or not. He has looked at the permit and he has made notes on it.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
I thank you, Mr. Marks. I think there's a few questions that I have, but I think Mr. Story can enlighten us in regards to, some of the facts that are missing here. Mr. Singh, there's excess land, and I think you had said that the excess land is 43%. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I don't think, but do you know offhand the ratio for buildings like this? What there's a dealership, is it like 4-1, 5-1, something like that?
I wouldn't know the exact ratio.
Okay.
I do know that for the excess land, the plan area is rather small for the entire land.
Yeah.
And but
there's no. Both parties have used the excess land, so I just it was just a general sort of question. I think that any time that the you have an evaluation of a property and it changes from the year built to the effective age, you have to go back and look at some of the permits because that's important. I think Ms. Knight brought up, I know the building, she knows the building. It used to be Seven Oaks School Division, sort of maintenance for their vehicles. And the fact that it sold in 2020 for $4,200,000, I mean, that's you can only go probably upward in regards to probably a value. Anyways, I thank you, Mr. Singh, for your presentation. Mr. Story, the floor is now yours in regards to the presentation.
Just one. It's a follow-up question to use, Mr. Mayor. Can I ask Mr. Singh one other quick question?
Yeah, certainly.
Mr. Singh, are you aware that there's a new building already in construction on the site?
I believe they're building a multifamily
Correct. Yes.
building.
So you're aware that that's
land.
already well into construction.
Yeah, I see the permits. So they're building it on the excess land. Yes.
Okay, but now let's talk about the excess land. The total site is 5 acres. The suggested size, as Mr. Mayor was asking, by the manufacturers, that's General Motors and Ford and Kia and all these different folks, is anywhere from a minimum of 5 acres to 8 acres is the ideal. This property, as it sits today, is 5 acres, of which 2 acres is under construction. We will then end up with 3 acres for the dealership and 2 acres for the apartment block. How does that factor into your assessment? The fact that there's a building in construction that may or may not solve the problem of the excess land because there isn't excess land in 5 acres to build a dealership and a 100+ multifamily suite. Have you got just any comments on that?
So, but they still are building the multifamily, so they obviously have.
And when it's finished, Mr. Singh, it'll only be 2 acres. It will have only dedicated to it 2 acres of land. It'll be anything but excess. And even the car dealership will be 3 acres, where the recommended is anywhere from 5 to 8 acres for a car dealership. So I'm suggesting to you that I don't believe that any of the land is excess in light of the circumstance that they're building as as we sit here. If it were sitting vacant, it might feel differently. But it's under construction.
It's just recently under construction, 2023. So that's what the permit is, March 5th.
But what I'm asking you, Mr. Singh, is if when it's all said and done, it has a car dealership that has 3 acres and it has a apartment block that has 2 acres, where's the excess land?
So the future is uncertain. We can only talk about the present, and that's what my presentation is.
Okay, I'll try another way. Okay, I'll go do my summation. Sorry.
All right. Your presentation, Mr. Story.
Okay, we will be brief. And if you check on page 2 of our brief, you'll see that there's 4.8 acres, actually less than the 5 acres, 4.8 acres of land. If you go to page 3, you'll see that our position is that the market rent should be $12.50 a square foot, and I'll explain that in just a moment. That the management should be allowed, that the capitalization rate using the 6.5 in retail plus Mr. Johnson's, where it's a bit higher, and the fact that it's an automobile dealership, and we've had a number of them that have closed and not reopened. And when I say that, I talk about Winnipeg Honda that closed in 2003 and is just now being developed. The land is being developed as apartments on Pembina Highway. McNaught Motors down on Portage and Furby being redeveloped into apartments. So that's the justification for the 7.25 capitalization rate. I'll go into it more. The excess land, I don't believe there is excess land based on the circumstance. And on page 4, on the assessment information, again, it shows the overall effective age built of 2000. We've talked about that. It has to do with the service building on what used to be the bus depot for Seven Oaks School Division. If we go to page 6, you'll see our position, which was the SUP 2001, where we had recognized on page 7. We did recognize the additional land value plus cap rate of 7.25%. That's a decision. And if you get to page 9, I just want you to have a look at this. Now, I don't know if you visited any of the Lexus, Land Rover, Mercedes-Benz, Fiat, all these the beautiful, most current addition to that inventory of dealerships. They're quite elaborate. They've got spiral staircases and cappuccino bars and things of that nature. This is not like that. And you can see that on page 9 of our brief. That's the showroom. That's the highest end of the dealership. And it's Kia. It's a less expensive car and a less expensive cost to develop dealerships and to maintain them. The next page is this customer waiting area, where you wait for, where you book in service up behind that counter. That's page 10. Page 11 is being back at the north end of the building, shooting south, south end shooting to the north. That's page 11. Page 12, again, the dealership that accommodates about 8 or 10 cars. Page 13, you see these different, here's an interesting one. 2610 McPhillips is a Winnipeg Honda store and part of the Dilawri Group. It's got a 12-to-1 land to building ratio and is not considered to be excess land. Subject is 10-to-1 and is considered to be excess land and only has 4.8 acres. And to a couple of decisions on page 16, 17, 7 3/4 cap rate, and the applicant's NOI. We just did 15 2023 dealerships, Mr. Gauthier and Mr. Dilawri, and all of them are assessed at $12.50 as a market rent, plus a 7.75 to 7.5 cap. This is page 19 is a decision at 2420 McPhillips at $12.50 market rent. And, we've got an 8% cap rate, but I don't think we got 8%. I've referred often to Lawson. Lawson is a back street that you get into the fancy new dealerships on Kenniston. And that dealership is $12.50 market rent. The initial assessment was $13.68. The board settled on $12.50 and a 7.15 cap rate. The next was also on Lawson. This is 200 Lawson, and it's a 7.5 cap. That's page 24. $180 Lawson is a $7.15 cap and $12.50 market rate. So then if we go to page 30 of the brief, this just speaks to the fact that retail, Johnson report is about 4.7% in 2020. Because automobile dealerships are grouped in with retail, we use that, plus we give an adjustment to it. And the adjustment is because car dealerships are not easily retrofitted. And I mentioned Winnipeg Honda at 3021 Pembina, that's page 30 of our brief. Winnipeg Honda was 2003, and I've done that property that long, and it's just now being developed. 1310 Regent was a Ford dealership that ceased to be, there's now a development site. 630 Portage is the original McNaught Motors on Furby. It's being torn down and built as an apartment block. 2537 is Frontier Subaru, and it was the land and building and dealership were bought so Mr. Patterson could have a Subaru dealership. And the Saturn went brown every year, so that's 3095. So this just shows you these are not, it's a 3% or a 5 or 10% vacancy. They are not often repositioned, torn down. If you go to page 31, you'll see miscellaneous market rents. And then I asked Mr. Singh, there's another category, and that's called vehicle related. And that takes into consideration buildings that have hoists and air makeup, air systems and whatnot. And here are 20 of them. And none of these are found in the list that the city used as comparables for dealerships. And they're all appropriate and all could be used, every one of them. Look at the square footage, look at everything to do with it. They could be something that's vehicle related, has a much better chance of being a comparable to an auto dealership than a big box retail. Talk to them. Coordinate folks with this. And with that, I'll say thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Story. Mr. Singh, questions of Mr. Story?
No questions.
I thank you. Ms. Knight, questions?
I do have a couple of questions. So your rent on page 32 and 31, is that gross rent or net rent?
You're asking, that's net rent. And what I should just explain to you, I thought I had it and I didn't mention it. What's happened is over the last many years, we've tried a great many ways to come up with a market rent for dealerships. We used to do it on the basis of 25,000 was a breaking point. They were $1 a foot more if they were small, if they were 12,000 or 15,000 or less. What we've done is we took a page out of Calgary handbook, and Calgary look at the building and they identify what the finish is. And we ended up doing that this year on this cycle and have had a degree of success. And what we've done is we've looked at it and said, in a typical car dealer, and that's one that doesn't have tire storage and detailing and Jiffy Lube and a car wash, that is between 60-40 and 50-50 between whether it's an industrial finish, which would be a typical industrial building, versus a big box retail. So our position, to keep it easy, is big box retail, we're saying, is 50% of the value, and it's $15 a square foot. And that's supported by some of Mr. Singh's numbers as well. And on the industrial grade, which is the back of the house, they call it, that's where your parts are, that's where your service is done. They're not elaborate. They don't have chandeliers and cappuccino machines. And those we say are $10 a square foot because the whole row of flex warehouses on Kinniston, the Terracon properties, Hunch properties, are at just over $10 a square foot. So we're suggesting to you that 50% of the value should be based on a rate of $15 a square foot, which is the front of the house where the customer lounges, things of that nature. And the other 50% should be the back of the house. When you take that and blend it, it's $12.50, and that's where that number came from. And for the most
I have another question for you, and that's got to do with the parcel of land that you're saying is now being built into an apartment building, obviously owned by the same company, Ranjoy Sales.
Yes,
I'm presuming it was never sold. So there must have been a value to that property when it was purchased. And are you then saying that most dealerships that are under the 3 acres aren't worth anything because they have no extra property? Or you're saying that all dealerships should have extra property? So if that's the case, then why did Ranjoy go ahead and turn this into an apartment building?
Because they have, Mr. Gauthier has the benefit, the unique benefit of being able to have in various spots around his main dealerships.
Right, he owns all that property.
He owns them all. So he doesn't need used to have on Watson Street, he used to keep all his new inventory. He doesn't, he has it wrapped around the collision store in Tuckerton. But the manufacturer, when you get an automobile dealership, the manufacturer drives a very hard bargain, and they're very strict, and they have guidelines. And one of the guidelines is they want to see 5 to 8
So if that's the guideline, why did Mr. Goche build a building on the property that makes his property less than the guideline?
The guidelines are just what he's prepared to pay for.
Okay.
Yeah, the guidelines.
So I have another question for you. You gave us examples of, I think you were saying they were Dilawri and Goche properties all at 7.25 cap rate. So are you saying all decisions by the board on all dealerships are 7.25?
Well, I don't do them all, but I do 15 that came out last week and they were at 7.2.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Marks, questions?
Yes, regarding the excess property, how much excess property is left now after this apartment block has been put up?
Estimated to be 2 acres. They're showing it, the acquisition when it was bought, it was 4.8 acres, and that's what the assessor has as the total site. And they've allocated it at 3 for the car dealership and 2 for the apartment block.
Okay, so when was that property taken away from the initial 5 acres? What year?
2020, I believe. Taken away, how did you mean, sir? Taken away. The 5 acres, they bought 5 acres from the school division, and now it's 2 different going to be 2 different assessment rolls, 1 at 3 and 1 at 2 to make up the 5.
Okay. Well, that's a question. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Story, in your presentation, you have a value here of $3,281,000, correct?
Yes. 3,281,067.
And so,
But that doesn't, Mr. Mayor, that doesn't have the excess land.
well, that's what I wanted to talk about. So are you saying the value is that figure that we just mentioned plus the excess land, which is like 681,000?
Yeah, 677 I have, but yes. Yes, it
Okay.
should be, I presume the board.
So your two figures should be added together, which would be 3,962,000.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So you
And
are
that'll
more or less,
correct itself, Mr. Merritt, when the sub comes out, when the apartment's built.
yeah. So the way the city has done excess land, they've determined the value of 667,000. And I think because of rounding or something like that, they're about 681.
Yeah.
So you are in agreement with the excess land then?
Yes, sir.
So you have a total value of 3.9.
Correct.
Okay. And there was a sale, they purchased back in 2020 for 4.2 million, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
All right.
And that was from the school division.
Yeah. Yeah, from Seven Oaks.
That was their bus maintenance.
Okay. Either party wants summation. Mr. Singh, do you want summation? Mr. Story, summation at all?
No summation.
I just would like to say that I've been dealing with this for several years now. We're going to a test case, and I just think that bypassing the vehicle related and just the normal small retail and trying to compare big box retail to a car dealership is inappropriate and can't result in any accuracy. Thank you.
I thank you, Mr. Story. I thank you for your presentation and results very, very soon. So I think that finishes your presentation. So thank you and have a good day.
You too. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Lunn, I think when Mr. Story, I think he's probably gone shortly. So you can bring Mr. Newfield in.
Just connecting now.
Okay.
Afternoon, Mr. Neufeld. And Mr. Neufeld, when you're ready, I will affirm you and we can keep going.
Sure, anytime.
Very good, Mr. Lunn.
Mr. Neufeld, please state your full name.
Rocky Neufeld?
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Newfield, thank you for your patience. And you have one property here, which is vacant land. So Mr. Singh, we're going to turn it over to you for your presentation.
So this is file number 22-4209. Roll number 030930096110. Address 80 Payworks Way. The roll year is 2021. Reference date is April 1st, 2018. Assessed value is $6,793,000. It's vacant commercial. Zoning is C3. Land area is 348,303 square feet. And the recommendation is to maintain the 2021 assessed value of $6,793,000. Page 2 and page 3, you can see the subject area photos. It's at the corner of Payworks Way and Waverly Street. It's close to bus routes, and it's has heavy traffic. It's just west of it. It is Kenniston Boulevard. It's located in South Point, next to Prairie Point. Access is through Payworks Way. Page 5 is subject property market sales comparisons, land sale comparables, with the average of $23.74. Median is $23.68. Minimum is $17.22. Max is $28.72. The subject property is 348,303 square feet. That's $19.50 per square feet. Page 7 is Municipal Assessment Act excerpts, and page 8 is a couple of permits just to show that construction is currently being developed on the land for an office building and above ground parkade. That's the presentation.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Singh. Mr. Newfield, questions?
Yes, thank you. You mentioned, I was just listening here, you mentioned bus routes. I'm looking at the map, bus route map, and I don't see anything close to it. Which route would that be on?
There should be a bus route on Waverly Street. Actually, there should be. If not, it would be maybe like 5 or 10 minutes away walk, but it should be on Waverly Street.
Okay, you say it should be on Waverly. Again, I just downloaded it as you were speaking because I was rather surprised to hear that. I don't think bus routes have been developed there yet. And there is one, of course, on Pembina Highway. But it appears that that entire section is what the city's calling new routes, planned routes. You sure about that? I was just wondering about that statement.
About the bus routes?
Yeah.
So this is like I mentioned, it's located in South Point and Prairie Point. There has been development of bus routes that constantly go through that area. especially down Waverly Street.
And the planning, are you aware, was for weekday peak only buses, so not continuous service?
I can't comment on that.
Oh, okay, well, no, you bring something up verbally, obviously you gotta you gotta support it, so you don't know then, okay. When was the property subdivided, do you know?
I wouldn't know that information.
Well, when is the assessment effective as of? What was the date?
So as I mentioned before, the roll year is 2021, reference date is April 1st, 2018.
Right, but this is a supplemental, correct?
I believe so.
And the supplemental, was that when the subdivision was made, at that point was the supplemental issued?
So I have like the zoning change occurred in 2020 and it went to VCOM in 2021, January 1st.
When is the effective, do you know the effective date on it? I have October, I'm just looking for my notice here. Supplemental notice for, I have January 1st, 2021. Would it have been subdivided around that time?
I have it's changed from Agri to VCOM. But that parcel of land has stayed the same since 2018.
Okay, so then fair to say that you're not familiar with the process by which the land came to market?
No, I would not.
Okay. And the address is now 80 Payworks Way. Would that be the same as the current owner?
So the owner I have is a numbered company, Canada Limited.
So you're not aware that it's Payworks who are the new owner of the property? No, okay. And
yeah,
do you know
the Payworks office building is being constructed there.
Okay. And the former owner, do you know who the former owner was?
No, I do not.
So you're not aware that it was Ladco?
No, because what we're dealing with is a reference date of 2018 and market value.
Well, no, I understand that. I'm just wondering, as it refers to value, if you had looked at any of the history going into it, and so you're not aware that Ladco was the vendor and Payworks was the purchaser then?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. And that sale, of course, was past the reference date, correct?
Yes. That's why we don't have the sale.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I just want, board's gonna ask questions later, so let's get them out of the way. Your comparables, okay, first of all, what part of Waverly West is this located in? Do you know the name of the number or the letter for the district?
The NCA is 682 South Point.
Yeah, but when Waverly West was first planned, it was split into 6 neighborhood plan areas for planning purposes. Are you aware do you know anything about these plan areas?
No, I would not.
Okay, so now in Waverly West, there's a retail area, correct, called Town Center?
I believe so.
Is this located in Town Center?
Yes.
Sorry, are you sure about that?
I said, I was asking you, you're talking about Payworks Way?
Yes. Is this, and I have provided this information in the rebuttal as to its location, but if you're not aware of it, that's fine. We'll just move on. If you know anything about the preliminary planning in Waverly West.
No, I do not.
Okay. Your sales that you're relying on, how many of these are in Waverly West?
I tried to come up with comparables close to the subject area with similar zoning, and they're not parceled land. They're actual whole land comparables. So they're close to it, but they're not in the same NCA.
No, so near number 2 and number 3 are the only ones in Waverly West, correct?
Bridgewater, yes, I believe so.
And the one on McGilvery here, that was clipped off, that's White Ridge?
Yes, that's White Ridge.
Now, it's zoned agricultural, and it seems to be fairly close to value, the other sales. Why would it be included?
Again, I was looking for parcels of lands that are close to the subject area. I included that one in my comparables.
Well, is it fair to say that in areas being developed, that the imminence of a zoning change could indicate that the future zoning was relied on for value rather than the old zoning?
It could, but again, I just chose comparables close to the subject property.
485 Sterling Lion, what was that developed into?
That was developed into a car dealership, complete auto dealership. I believe it's Audi Winnipeg.
Okay. And the one below it, Kenniston Boulevard, what was that developed into?
That was developed into a Porsche Winnipeg car dealership.
Okay, so those two properties fronted on Kenniston then, and with the other automobile dealerships being built there in the same area then, is that correct?
I believe so.
And 400 Northtown, that was developed into a shopping center, correct?
Yeah, neighborhood shopping center.
Was any consideration given for the size of the land?
Some was, but again, I was looking for whole land sales. They weren't parcels or parcels added to land sales. So these are the comparables, the best comparables that I could find.
Well, the subject is 348,000 square feet, right? And the nearest size to it is the second one, 400 Northtown, at the lowest rate. Would not this indicate that some consideration should be made for economy of scale?
Some, but you also have to look at location and where the subject property is located. And yeah.
Isn't 400 Northtown the closest in proximity to the subject of all your comparables?
Yes, but it is a neighborhood shopping center. It's located in the middle of the area, and it's not in the corner where the subject property is.
It's not in the corner, you say? You're sure about that?
And it's not in corner of Waverly.
It's at the corner of Keniston and Center, between Keniston and Center, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, I always get these streets wrong. Yes, Keniston. And isn't the sale of 400 Northtown also the only one that has the same zoning as the subject?
Yes.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Knight, questions?
Just one question. If you take the square feet times 1950, I get 6,792,000. Is that, or are we doing 6,793,000? And I know it's not a big difference, but
But it is.
mhm.
Yes, that is correct. So it's 91. Like you said before, I think somebody just rounded the figure up.
Okay, so 6,792,000 is your request, and your best comp you think is that 400 Northtown, or is it a different one?
The best comp, I would have to say, out of all of them, I wouldn't pick one exactly.
Okay.
It's a generalization of the area.
Okay, and then this property was just sold to the 11606-808 Canada Limited. Do you know when that sale happened and what the value of that sale was? When it originally happened?
So that sale, we didn't include it because it's post-reference.
So 11606-808 Canada didn't own this property in 2021? Or at the reference date 2018?
Just 1 second. So the sale happened in 2020, October 30th. And I believe what the applicant was saying that I'm not too sure who owned it. I can check that up for you if you want me to.
Okay, no, that's fine. So you don't have any sale information prior to that. That's fine. Thank you.
I thank you, Diane. Mr. Marks?
No questions for you, thank you.
Okay. I have none. Mr. Newfield, your presentation, and then we can deal with your rebuttal after, if you want to go that way. So the floor.
Yeah, I think the rebuttal is very, very basic. It's just a location map, and I'll refer to it verbally, and it's there for your information.
Very good.
So the property was just some background on Waverly West. It's a joint effort between essentially two parties, Manitoba Housing and Ladco. The land was several thousand acres, and it was split up into 6 districts, and this allowed for development of the site in phases. And the phases were originally planned to be 20 to 30 years, but it was far more successful than anyone had ever thought. Now, Manitoba Housing owned A, F, E, and B. They're in the rebuttal, and these are the northern 4 sections.
Sorry, Mr. Neufeld, I can't see that rebuttal. Oh, okay, I got it now.
Yeah, it's the page 2, and it's just for reference purposes. So Manitoba Housing had the 4 northern sections as well as the town center, and then Ladco had D and C. The subject is in C, the Ladco lands. So when anyone who drives through it, you'll notice some very interesting differences. The major one being that Manitoba Housing didn't like garages that protruded in front of the house line. That's the significant thing you should all see. Whereas the Ladco, it was more of we'll build the house to fit the lot, and the garage protrudes up front. And the houses were a bit larger generally. So there were some design differences, but the biggest issue that we're looking at is the focus of where the commercial was going to happen. This land originally went to the provincial government for a rezoning because it was agricultural and it needed a planning change. And the 2 parties got together and they zoned areas. So town center is the retail node. The other zones are single and multifamily. Now, Ladco kept a couple of lots, spaces for commercial uses along the old Waverly Street, and they had a section near where, if you know where the Manitoba Islamic Association is, there was a node of land there, and then they had a little bit of land on Keniston, which included where the subject is. Now, most of the lots, though, were being taken in this area by multifamily because the multifamily were ringing the commercial area. And the original commercial area was supposed to be 170 acres, as you can see in the sketch, and it ended up being much, much less because the demand was higher for multifamily. But this was the concept of Waverly West, to have that retail node in the center. The reason, and like I said, Ladco is typically a single family home builder. So they have some multifamily projects, but this was their neighborhood plan was mostly all residential. So Payworks is located on Waverly, much further north, near the tracks, they keep renaming all these, near Wilkes, and they've outgrown their site, and they identified a need to expand a few years ago, and they ended up looking for building, and they couldn't find anything suitable for them, so they purchased this land for redevelopment of their site and expansion to meet their growing needs. And so this is a long-term plan and to move their operation, and the negotiation for the land at the time that they wanted to buy the land, Ladco wasn't quite prepared to develop it, because the minute you develop a piece of land and you get it, turn it into a future use, you can't just do one little parcel at a time. You've got to do a section, and you invest in the infrastructure. And not only do you have to pay for the infrastructure, but you have to, the land surrounding it gets impacted by it. And essentially you pay taxes on it as either a residential or commercial use, whereas the undeveloped portions of this area could still be classed as agricultural. So your holding costs just become higher as you're waiting for development. So this was a penalty that Payworks had to incur because they wanted this land brought to market sooner than Ladco wished to have it brought to market. The actual date of the purchase was August 15th, 2019. We're not allowed to discuss, you're not allowed to care how much it was for, but it was less than the assessed value. And it also they also incurred significant penalties for early development of land. The developer made them pay for it because if they wanted the land, they were going to have to pay for the cost of the holding costs of the surrounding land, which would result from reclassifying this land for the C3 usage. And that's just an issue that happens all the time in land development. You rush the developer, I mean, typically the developer wants to pre-sell everything so that he has no holding costs. And then the minute the transaction goes through, the ownership gets changed and all the lands in the area have been sold off his books and off his off the tax increase, which comes from reclassification. Why I'm telling you these stories is I've worked an awful lot in Waverly West and on the development and involved in several land developments, expropriations, etc. And this is the nature of the sales there, and this is how you try to look at the value of it. As a result, we weren't going to worry too much about the sale, knowing how it was influenced by that, and we looked at values of sales that had occurred in and around the same time, and tried to stay inside Waverly West. So you can see on our page 1, we have listed several sales that took place between, 2016 and 2017. So of course our sales are closer to the reference here. And all of these are in there. Now, there are 2 that are agricultural zoned, but as the assessor has also done, when you have a sale that, while still zoned agricultural, is in an area that's been identified as a future use, and that use does not require a conditional use or a change. When Waverly West started, any change from agriculture to the proposed usage in the major plan was an administrative issue. You did not have to go and seek approval for it. So, which meant that even though the land was zoned A, that was because it was in a holding state, and services had been installed in these, and it was ready to go, and it was just the matter of taking out, going to planning, property planning, and putting in for your administrative change, which was part of your development permit, and the land classification changes. That's the nature of it. Now, the rest of these, of course, were all in the RMF, which is multifamily, and all in the area. We were looking at all of these sales, and there were a number of large sales, big and small sales, and the larger ones, as you can see on Bridge Lake, 12 and 13, even $14 a square foot. And then one hit 17 on Bridge Lake, and then the A sales. The reason they sold for less was not because the zoning; it was because of their location. The bottom 8 sales or 7 sales we've referenced are all closer to the town center, whereas the top 2 sales were further away. And I think actually the top one required some assemblage, and I'm just trying to go from memory. Oh, yes, that was a multi-lot roll sale that involved several parcels. So not putting a great deal of weight on that. But if you look at the average of what people were paying for land, all of them in Waverly West, $13.35, which is $581,000 per acre. And that's what we're using on for this land is the average of those sales. And all of our sales, we've got pictures of all of them, where they are and what they were developed to, or pictures of some of them, I should say. Number 1, I mentioned Cadborough, and you can see it is further away. Cadborough, the problem with the sale wasn't, and now it's all coming back to me. It's been 10 years since I did this. Cadborough's problem wasn't necessarily anything except that it was in precinct B. And if you go back to my rebuttal information on the plan of the site, the order that B was last in neighborhood plan area. And the reason it was last is because it had the most individual lot owners in there, people who weren't either Manitoba Housing or LADCO or University of Manitoba. These were owners where they would have to have a consensus to get together to push the development plan through, and it was always labeled as the last one to be developed. So B is towards that's its reason, the reason for a lower sale price. A was first, A and C were first, and then that was followed by F, D, and E. And then finally, B is filling up now, and B has been slotted for institutional uses. And on the first picture, which is the assessment department map, you can see that our site is in red, and the undeveloped lands to the north of it are precinct B, and that's where the Cadborough sale came from. Sorry, it was my memory here, but this is how the lands were developed, and the other ones in the area where the subject are, this map is not up to date because there have been developments there. There's also a park that's been placed there, and there's going to be a future personal care home and seniors living complex being built. So the values that we're looking at are based on those sales, and in summation, we've stuck in the same neighborhood. All of our sales are within a very close proximity to the subject. They're all impacted by the same zoning regulations, being the Waverly West development plan and the precinct setup, and the competition between developers for the sites is very, very similar when they're in the same area. There's a bit of the retail users versus the multifamily users, and right now there are more multifamily projects going up, and that's because there's you can get multifamily approval in commercial districts because there's an equivalency for density on all C2, C3 sites for an RMFM standard. And our sales are closer to the reference year, and they are comprised of larger properties, and that's my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Neufeld. Mr. Singh, questions of Mr. Neufeld?
No questions.
Thank you. Ms. Knight?
Just one. So if the majority of your comparables are in 2016 and this is 2018, would you say there needs to be an adjustment for economies of scale?
You mean for date of sale?
Date of sale, sorry. Yes. Yeah, sorry. Well, I know it's something of scale.
What's interesting is that when I looked at the assessors' two comparables from the area, they're showing higher achieved sale prices on older sales from 2014 and 2015. So I'm from the limited data we're looking at today, I'm almost would like to say it's the opposite direction. But the reality of what happened in Waverly West, though, is that all these sales didn't necessarily occur on the sale date. They occur a year or so in advance, and then as soon as the land has been subdivided and the Mylars presented and a new title created, the sale goes through. So I think that's the difficulty of Waverly West, to try to pin down a time. But most of the hot sales happened in the beginning for multifamily. Right. Retail was very slow to move to the area. There are a couple of other sales we know about. Sorry, I just heard one the other day. I know it's within the reference period, but I don't recall the exact date. I mentioned the personal care home one, which is virtually across the street from it. That went for $14.90 or $6.50 an acre, about $14.90 a square foot. I think that one should have been included. I guess the bottom line answer is I'm really confusing. I'm adding stuff here, but is that a statistical analysis on the date of sale in Waverly West is not going to be helpful.
Okay. So if I was to take out your two agricultural ones and did a, then it comes up to about 1463 a square foot.
Yeah, and that's a valid point. And I wouldn't take them out because they're agricultural. I think the person who did this was not aware that they were in precinct B. But I would not disagree with that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. Mr. Marks?
Yeah, just one, you've got the two agricultural properties still listed under zoning for agriculture. The rest were probably agricultural prior to this as well?
Yeah, everything was, everything in it was agricultural in Waverly West. I'm trying to think if there was some RR2 in there. No, it was A5, which is a 5 acre agricultural for some of these lots. Yeah, it was all agricultural, and the plan for it was agricultural. So it was the 2005 act of the province, which gave the developer license to change it to a series of planning designations, RMF, RC, as they saw fit. So the change was all allowed administratively. But everything in here was agricultural prior to 2000. I think the first zoning change that came out was 2008.
Didn't they want them into larger residential parcels?
The goal was always single family, and then over time, single family, and then with the town center being retail. That was the original concept, and then they just found that the demand was so high for multifamily that the fringe lands around town center and some land inside town center ended up going multifamily. That was probably a pleasant surprise for the developers.
Okay. And are there like apartment blocks going up in that area as well?
Yes, yeah. They're just it's the predominant usage now along the major corridors.
No further questions. Thank you, Rocky.
I thank you. Mr. Newfield, what do you think your best comparables are, for?
Well, I think I liked the comment before is I would probably exclude the top two being in precinct B, not precinct B, neighborhood plan area B. And I see a really heavy concentration of the big lot sales, 200,000, above 200,000 square feet, between $12 and $14. I think that those are probably the two in Bridge Lake, that John Angus and the Stan Bailey are probably the best comparables. There's a consistency to them. I think probably I would round my number upwards, taking off the top two. And personally, I'm just looking at this today. And then I was thinking the one I verbally introduced, which I knew happened across the street, which is a larger sale, $650 an acre. I think $650 an acre is probably where this should be. So that's about 5.2 million.
Your rate of $13.35 a square foot is applicable?
Well, again, that's the person who did this on just the math, and we have to apply some critical thinking to it. And as I mentioned, the top two on there are in neighborhood plan B, which will have are going to take a little bit more time to bring to market. That brings us up to about I think I forgot what Diane said earlier.
1463 is what I did it, but your 5.2 would be 1493.
Yeah, which is $650 an acre, which is the one across the street for the personal care home.
That's 1490, you said.
Yeah, it was $650 an acre. Yeah.
Okay,
That
so
came up,
your new value is 5.2
that's correct.
at 1493 a square foot?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So Mr. Newfield, you're changing your value?
Yes, I am. That value actually came up at the municipal board on another case.
And what was the figure again?
5.2 million, 650,000 per acre.
Or 1493 a square foot?
Yes.
Okay. All right, summation needed, party?
No summation.
Mr. Newfield?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right, I think that concludes your part, Mr. Newfield. So thank you very kindly for your presentation and results very soon. So thank you. We'll probably see you soon.
No way. Ayrton's handling the rest of the business appeals. You're not going to see me, hopefully, till
Okay.
next year.
Thank you, Mr. Newfield, and the results very soon.
All right.
Mr. Thing, thank you very kindly for your presentations and did well. And we have heard all the scheduled items at this hearing. It is now adjourned. So thank you very kindly.
Thank you.